For the 4 adults on board this evening, it was a close call. They had no choice but to abandon the boat.
Well, Leah, Minneapolis School says the new study uses old numbers that are no longer accurate. Right now, investigators are trying to figure out where the leak came from and what caused the leak. Misdemeanor criminal charges now filed against one of their own, a friend who for more than a decade now has been known here as a good cop. Adding insult to injury, the rising cost of gasoline. Some drivers who want to volunteer simply can't afford to. Attorneys say the all-white jury returned its verdict fast, less than 4 hours of deliberations last night. They'll be cracking down on boat registration violations, life vest violations, and anything that puts boaters into harm's way. The good news today is that the fire did not get much bigger from yesterday. The bad news is that today's clear and dry weather did not help. This blaze largely fueled by these wooden construction materials packed inside that warehouse back there. With us now is a woman named Cheryl Williams who was here at the scene at the time. And Cheryl, you, along with the lifeguards, actually went out there and tried to rescue this man. Officials telling us today that they're now concentrating upstream of the collapse. Winona City Council says it had to act and act fast because the inconvenience of having that bridge closed is simply too great to too many people. So starting today, ferry service will take off from here in Winona for $5 a person here at Levee Park. More than 5 hours after the storm hit, you can still find some hail on the roadside. The chef behind the ballpark's new food has his own cookbook. It's called Home Plate.
Glen Barbour here now, live with a mother's pain. Glenn?
And John, the victim's mother, was inconsolable today after learning of her only son's death. Tonight, police say he was not the intended target, and Turnip Seed's family wants help tracking down the gunman.
Please tell them what they done.
Denise Turnipseed is crippled by the news of her son's murder.
They took everything. They ripped my soul out.
She says her son, 33-year-old Keith Turnipseed, was shot in the stomach. Turnipseed was at this club with his cousin.
We was coming out. It was like, had to been like 9 or 10 shots, just ricocheting from everywhere.
Jamel Aiken says he hit the ground and never saw who fired the gun. He says there was no argument ahead of time, no reason for the violence. The shooting appeared random, and Aikens doesn't know the 3 men who were also shot but survived.
It was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. They shot somebody, a good person, that they shouldn't have shot.
Turnipseed is the father of 5. His mother says he worked 4 jobs to support his kids. One of them, a group home, who left this T-shirt at the scene of his death. It reads, "Rest in peace, we love you."
We were just mother and son. We were sister, brother, best friend.
Turnipseed is leaning on her family and friends now to help her cope with her pain. She wears her son's jersey and clutches a photo of him taken 32 years ago. The family hopes someone will come forward and lead police to the gunman.
Justice needs to be done here because this was a violent and a senseless crime.
And tonight, police tell me that it does indeed appear that Kevin Turnipseed was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Turnipseed's family hopes to lay him to rest in his hometown of Chicago, where 4 of his 5 children currently live. Reporting live, I'm Glen Barbour, 5 Eyewitness News. Chances are you're seeing more potholes in Minneapolis streets this year.
The axle would have gotten bent if I hadn't continually swerved.
And the chances of finding smooth pavement seem to be dropping.
How's you good and hot material?
Jim Ronning is among a fewer number of Minneapolis crews who are patching up potholes.
Nice patch.
5 years ago, we had 10 repair crews that could be out there all season taking care of it. Now we have 7.
City officials say these workers are overwhelmed, admitting the quality of road conditions has declined every year over the last decade, correlating directly with a drop in funding. Now, because of recent budget cuts and the loss of some state funding recently, Minneapolis has cut the amount of money it spends on preventative maintenance by 25% over the last 5 years.
Best defense against potholes is a good offense, and that's a preventative maintenance program.
In 2006, the city set aside more than $26 million for road paving projects. Last year, $10 million less. And this year, funding has been cut to $11.6 million, adding insult to injury, higher fuel, and asphalt costs.
Boy, they grow like weeds here now.
Street crews can hardly keep up,
Well, that's what happens when they cut money.
leaving drivers with no choice but to navigate bumpy roads.
The passing of the transportation bill in the legislature with the increased gas tax helps a little bit.
And without even more money, all these crews can do is prioritize street repairs and fill as many holes as they can. Reporting in Minneapolis, I'm Glen Barbour, 5 Eyewitness News. Flatiron Construction promised Minnesota a safe bridge and fast.
Local 229, San Diego, California.
To reach the goal, 200 construction workers from around the country come to the bridge site 7 nights a week for a 12-hour shift. For the first time, you're seeing the night crew at work.
We move quite rapidly all the time.
Paul McFarland is among the workers who've endured the darkness and a harsh winter.
It certainly wasn't fun in the wintertime, no, but you know, you persevere, and that's half of what construction is all about anyway, is making deadlines through adversity.
So why do they do it? Many of these men and women call this a once-in-a-lifetime project, and union leaders say some get paid more than $3 more an hour to work by moonlight.
The challenge is staying up all night.
Jeff Anderson calls the graveyard shift a blessing, a chance to make extra money on a project that simply cannot follow a regular work schedule.
7 days a week, and it's 12 hours a day, so you don't find that often.
You don't often find the need to build so fast. Despite the pace, MnDOT maintains the safety of the new span is the top priority. In order to keep construction on schedule, the work has to continue around the clock. Right now, this crew is preparing to pour concrete in the last section before the bridge goes out over the Mississippi.
This is my first time this late at night.
MnDOT's Kevin Gutnick shows us the kind of work we haven't seen before. An up-close look at crews preparing to pour part of the concrete deck. But first, a critical step. Steel rebar is carefully laid out and tied into position by hand.
There's got to be millions of them in this bridge when it's all done.
Before pouring concrete, crews carefully vacuum out any debris that may have dropped into the space that will soon be the road's surface.
And this will take us out to the water, and then the segments will start.
This week, the first of 120 of these precast concrete segments raised into place from a barge on the river, eventually completing the 1,200-foot-long span.
It's really, really hard work.
The huge number of workers on this project, now at 600, is just one reason why things are moving at breakneck speed.
If we need to get something done, then they'll do it at night.
MnDOT also points out there's no traffic to slow down construction like on most road projects, but without the around-the-clock resources,
this would be a two and a half, maybe 3-year project.
Construction on the new 35W bridge is now more than 70% complete, but MnDOT cautions the last 30%, the part over the water, won't go as fast.
Yeah.
Despite the enthusiasm of so many workers who take their 12-hour break at sunrise. Reporting in Minneapolis, I'm Glen Barbour, 5 Eyewitness News. Some very mixed emotions here at Volk Field this afternoon when this group of Red Bulls landed here behind me. Of course, they lost those 3 guys in Iraq, and the life of a 4th soldier was changed forever.
I mean, I always thought about the moment, but it just seemed like it would never come.
Sergeant John Creasel hasn't seen the guys in his unit since December 2nd, the day he lost his legs.
Now I see some faces.
Sergeant Creasel was supposed to come home with these men today.
Good to see you, man. What's up, buddy?
Hey, good to see you, dude.
Great to see you, too, man.
That he's here at all to greet his fellow soldiers is to many a miracle.
Hey, bud. How's it going? Good, man.
A tight embrace with Staff Sergeant Tim Nelson.
It is so good to see you, dude. It is so good to see you.
Who was in the Humvee with Creasel when it hit a bomb. The blast took Creasel's legs and killed Sergeants Corey Rystad and Brian McDonough. A month later, Staff Sergeant James Wasika Jr. was killed.
I heard you yelling, man, and I wasn't going to let go if you were telling me not to.
Creasel credits Nelson and the medics on the scene with saving his life.
The guy's a fighter. He hung on with everything he had. How you doing, man?
Sergeant Creasel's reunion with his unit marks the arrival of the last wave of Minnesota National Guard soldiers to come home. 2,600 in all over 4 weeks. Lieutenant Colonel Greg Parks, the last man off the plane.
For us, it's just a sense of accomplishment, getting everything done, and finally getting everybody back home safe the last part of the trip for us.
Ooh, dude, what's up, brother? Good to see you, too, man.
Sergeant Creasel says he'll return to Washington, D.C. later this month to continue his rehabilitation. In the meantime, the Red Bulls that landed here today are off to Fort McCoy for demobilization, but they'll be reunited with their families back in Minnesota next week. Reporting live from Volk Field, I'm Glen Barbour, 5 Eyewitness News. The fire broke out here at Acme Auto Parts about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Three things made it very tough for firefighters here today. First, that building behind me was packed with flammable materials. Second, firefighters were trying to cope with a lack of water pressure here. And third, gusty winds.
A lot of smoke, a lot of flames.
People who were just passing by were drawn by a giant cloud of black smoke. You could see it for miles. At the scene, witnesses watched the flames bring down an auto parts business.
When we're sitting here watching it, within a matter of minutes, the whole roof was collapsing.
Smoke blocked firefighters' view of the building. Strong winds fanned the flames.
Try to get to that hydrant. We're out of hydrants.
Early in the battle, firefighters realized they didn't have enough water to knock down this blaze, forced to cut through a chain-link fence to find more water.
You guys ready?
Those firefighters came up, took that thing up right in that smoke, and amazing how they risked their lives to put a fire out for us people.
Crews contained the two-alarm fire to one building. Investigators say an Acme Auto Parts employee admitted he accidentally started the blaze.
The employee says that he was drilling a hole with a handheld electric drill into a gas tank of a car that was up on a hoist. The gas came down, the drill ignited the gasoline.
What was that? The worker was treated at a nearby hospital for minor injuries. No one else was hurt.
That's a pretty good fire. Lots of popping, lots of smoke.
The building, however, is a total loss.
There was an American flag flying over there. It was kind of cool to see. It was one of the last things that went.
And right now, crews remain on the scene here. They've been bulldozing unstable parts of the structure and making sure that the fire is completely out. Tonight, the fire marshal tells us that there is no estimate yet on just how costly this fire was. Reporting live in St. Paul, I'm Glen Barbour, 5 Eyewitness News.